I'm a 30F who got really drunk at a wedding and my 30M boyfriend did something. I'm wondering if it's okay. It was supposed to be a day of celebration, joy, and happiness. I was part of the wedding party, which meant I had responsibilities starting early in the morning. The bride and groom were close friends of mine, so I wanted everything to be perfect. From getting ready in the morning to helping with last-minute details, the day was non-stop. But as much as I was excited to be part of the special day, I didn't realize how much the lack of food would impact me. As the day progressed, I noticed that there wasn't much time to eat. We were all so busy with photos, helping the bride get dressed, and ensuring everything was running smoothly that we didn't have time to sit down for a proper meal. By the time we got to the reception, I was starving. But to my dismay, there still wasn't much food available. There were a few appetizers, but they were gone before I could even grab a plate. Feeling lightheaded and hungry, I decided to have a drink to take the edge off. One drink turned into 2, then 3, and before I knew it, I was drunk. The lack of food in my system made the alcohol hit me harder than it usually would. I was already feeling tipsy by the time my boyfriend arrived at the reception. He joined me and we tried to enjoy the rest of the evening, but I was quickly becoming too intoxicated to stay much longer. After a couple of hours, it became clear that I was too drunk to stay at the reception. My boyfriend could see that I was in no condition to be around other people, so he decided to take me home. The ride home was a blur. I remember feeling nauseous and miserable. I ended up throwing up 3 times on the way back to my apartment. My boyfriend was clearly frustrated, but I was too out of it to really register how he was feeling. By the time we got to my place, I was barely functioning. I knew I needed to walk my dog, but I could hardly stand. Somehow, I managed to take him outside for a quick walk, but it was more like a stumble. I don't even remember how long we were outside, but I'm pretty sure I just sat on the curb while my dog did his business. I was in such a bad state that I couldn't even think straight. When we got back inside, I was done for the night. I changed out of my dress and into a baggy t-shirt, then collapsed onto my bed. I blacked out almost immediately, my body completely shutting down from the alcohol and exhaustion. The next part of the night is where things get hazy. I have these flashbacks that come to me in pieces, and they're not very clear. At some point, my boyfriend moved from the couch to the bed. I remember him sitting upright in bed, not really doing anything to comfort me or check if I was okay. Then, things took a turn. I vaguely remember him turning me over from my side to my back. Before I knew it, he was on top of me, and we started having sex. I was aware of what was happening, but I was so drunk that I couldn't really process it. I didn't say no, but I also didn't have the ability to fully consent or stop it if I wanted to. In my state, I wasn't in control of my actions or decisions. At one point, I took off my shirt during the act, but I don't remember why or how. The next thing I remember is him turning me around and continuing. After he finished, he got up, put his clothes on, and told me he was going to leave. He asked if I was going to walk him out, but I was still too drunk to move. He left, leaving my door unlocked and without even leaving water by my bedside. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a sense of confusion. The events of the previous night were foggy in my mind, but I knew something had happened that didn't sit right with me. My boyfriend texted me, acting like everything was fine, but when I brought up the fact that we had sex the night before, he downplayed it. He said he was upset at how drunk I had gotten and how it had embarrassed us as a couple. I tried to piece together what had happened, and the more I thought about it, the more unsettled I felt. I mentioned to him that we had sex by the end of the night, so why was he so upset? He brushed it off, saying that it was because I kept asking him to come cuddle. I don't remember asking him to cuddle, but in my intoxicated state, it was possible. The more I replayed the events in my mind, the more uncomfortable I became. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Yes, we were in a relationship, and yes, I didn't stop him. But the whole situation felt off. I started to question whether what had happened was okay, or if there was something deeper going on that I wasn't fully grasping. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about that night. I felt a mix of emotions, confusion, guilt, anger, and sadness. I tried to talk to my boyfriend about it, but he didn't seem to understand why I was so upset. To him, it was just a drunken night that got out of hand. But to me, it was more than that. I felt like my trust had been violated even if I couldn't fully explain why. I started researching and reading stories from other people who had been in similar situations. I learned that just because someone doesn't say no, it doesn't mean they're giving full consent, especially when alcohol is involved. The more I learned, the more I realized that what had happened wasn't okay. I was too intoxicated to make clear decisions, and he should have recognized that. Eventually, I decided to confront him about it. I told him how I felt, how the situation had made me uncomfortable, and how I didn't think it was right. He was defensive at first, saying that I didn't stop him and that he thought it was what I wanted. But after a long conversation, he started to understand where I was coming from. We decided to take a break from each other, giving me time to process everything and figure out what I wanted to do next. I'm still working through my feelings, but I know that what happened that night wasn't okay. It's a hard lesson to learn, but it's one that's important for both of us. I'm hoping that by sharing my story, I can help others who might be in a similar situation to recognize the signs and speak up before it's too late. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more new stories.